Hi, Professor. This is Sarani. Just going over the artificial intelligence article that you had sent over in the assignments. I have a couple of my coworkers here. I asked them to help me and read the article, and they can give me some of their feedback as to what they think about it. So I am going to go ahead and turn this around if possible. Oh, maybe not. Okay. This is Stephanie here, and she is one of my coworkers. And this is Brianna, and she's another one of my coworkers. So they're going to be gracious enough to help me with my project. So we had to read the article about emotional and artificial emotional intelligence. So what did you guys think about the article? Did you guys think that it was relative and realistic to future expectations?
I thought it was very interesting with especially the self-knowledge, to acknowledge what is, I said, very interesting concept. Knowing oneself is to better be with everyone. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was very interesting. And education, dying with fewer requests will be very nice.
Mm-hmm. True.
Media, it would be nice to get good news versus bad news. Mm-hmm. Art, I didn't have anything. Shopping, buying what you need versus what you want. Too much stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And
True.
too much stuff.
True.
And then relationships, knowing more about how to relate to others was a good thing.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
got out of the article.
Yep.
Yeah.
What do you think, Brianna?
It was definitely a new way of thinking about artificial intelligence than I had ever thought of before. Just really increasing it by leaps and bounds of what artificial intelligence could potentially do. And really taking out a lot of the handicaps that we have right now. I think the part that appealed to me most was like the interactions in between people and like your emotional handicaps.
Right.
And being able to overcome those and almost, know what the other person is thinking.
Right.
And be able to just overcome that boundary and then move on with whatever the task is at hand, which I thought was really interesting. Especially I think the spouse finder I thought was hilarious.
I need one of those.
I know, right? Me too. Well, it's very relevant to my life. And I was like, wow, the amount of time that you spend trying to communicate with somebody and communicate your feelings, and if you had something that could match you up with somebody who, like, you played to your strengths and weaknesses and, would just be very interesting. And I don't know, I feel like a lot of effort is spent on that in your life, and to take that out and, give you back that time to do something else, which I probably can't even conceive of right now.
Right.
is just extremely interesting and, took it many steps further than I would have ever considered before.
Definitely. Do you ladies think that there are, I don't know, especially the first part of the article, it seemed as though we would be relying heavily on these type of robots. And like, for example, in just like having everything computerized. Do you think that that's a benefit, or do you think that that's a negative aspect? Like, I feel like maybe it's kind of an in-between for me, because I feel like it would be helpful in some ways, but at the same time kind of detach us from like our, like, even our basic like evolutionary skills. You know what I mean? Like, just, what do you guys think?
I think it's good for people that probably are computer literate, but you have these elderly people like my husband who doesn't know the computer at all, so that would be a detriment for him.
Right.
So I think that's what you have to try to figure out what's the good and what's the bad in both ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's another thing too, is that I feel like even older people now are becoming much more computer savvy. They're online dating, they're on Facebook, they're on Instagram and stuff. So I wonder if it's something that's just expected for people to know now, how to use computers and robots and things like
that.
Ones
that don't know it are left behind.
Exactly. Yeah. What do you think, Brianna?
And I do think when you asked about the emotions too, I think we already almost on a certain field are doing that right now. Like, we're not having the social interactions, we're having the online interactions, whether it's via text message or Facebook.
Yes.
It's already kind of moving towards that. So it'll probably just evolve in ways that we hadn't thought it would evolve before.
Right.
So we're already kind of emotionally detached and dependent on computers. I know I had a personal, like, interesting experience on vacation recently. I was in New Hampshire, so 3 hours away from home on vacation with just my daughter and I dropped my phone and it wouldn't come back on.
Yeah.
And we were going home that day and I needed to figure out how to get home, and it wasn't like a straight shot on one highway. And I was like, oh, I don't have a map.
Yes.
Where do I get a map? I didn't even know where to get a map.
Right.
I didn't know where to get to the nearest town, like,
Yeah.
because I'm so dependent on the GPS.
That is so
And
true.
it was very jarring to me to realize how dependent on the phone I am.
Yeah.
But it's also just part of my life. Like it's in
Yeah.
my hand constantly, and I'm constantly using it. But
It's so
I
true.
might need to buy like an atlas to keep in my car with it. Because then there was the whole fear of, well, what happens? I'm 3 hours away. If I get stopped on the side of the road, do you
Yes.
like flag someone down to change your tire?
It's true. I
don't-
sometimes put the GPS on to go places that are close to me, but I just happen
Yeah.
to not know where they are. And I think back to when I say like first started driving or first phones came out. I was 18 when I got my first phone, but there was no GPS or anything. And I'm like, how if I had a friend say come pick me up and I didn't know how to get there, how would they tell me? Like, how did I get there? I don't know how I did it. But
Yeah.
and it is scary to think like if these machines, these robots, these whatever, they go down, how do we function?
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
so how are we going to function in relationships if we don't have the computer there to make sure that we're doing it
Yeah.
correctly?
Yeah.
And, you know, how do we like evolve naturally? You know, if we're waiting for a computer to tell us how to do all these things.
Yeah.
So it's concerning to me. I think it's a
Yeah.
little too much because I already feel like, you know, you go to Stop and Shop because you're in such a rush and you go through the express thing and you do it yourself, and you know, people lose their jobs and you don't interact with people, and it's a lot of different aspects to think about, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
One thing that I did like was the media part. That would be, I think, super beneficial, especially in times now, because I feel like we don't know what's true and not, what's being left out, what we're being told. So I think that would be probably the biggest benefit that I could see.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Definitely.
Yeah. And one thing at the end, I don't know if you noticed this particular quote, but it said, flaws in our emotional capacity that ruin our existence. That we have flaws in our emotional capacity that ruin our existence. What did you guys, I don't know if you remember that at the end, but I thought that I was very harsh. I was like, I don't think I have anything that's ruining my existence or any blemishes in or flaws that I have that are so bad that are ruining people's existence or my own, because it's not perfect or robotic. Like,
Yeah.
what do you guys think about that? Do you guys think that we'll be
Ruin?
better off?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ruin is an extremely harsh word.
That's what I thought.
I mean, I see that as a way to like improve myself, to get better, and like reading other people and, you know, kind of knowing their motives and stuff, which I mean, having AI that would step in and kind of tell you those things, or like be your emotional, like, you know, litmus test of where somebody is, you know, would be helpful. But ruin, I don't think, I think that's a bit harsh.
That
Yeah.
is a bit harsh. That's what I thought too. Stephanie?
Yeah, because with me, one of the things with the knowing yourself was a little quote was, if you're tired and you get irritable, you don't understand that you're tired, that's why you're irritable, but it's not the person you're talking to making you irritable.
Exactly.
So I have to know
Yeah.
more about that with me, with my
Yes.
husband, because it's like, I get irritable and he's like, what's me? I didn't do anything. I'm like, I'm just tired. I think I'm just tired. And he's like, okay. You know, so
Yeah.
it's like, to get to better know you, I
Mhm.
think that's what the harsh thing that it's saying there. It's like, okay, to get a better knowledge of you.
Mm-hmm.
But that word,
Yeah, ruin is a
very
harsh
harsh.
Yeah.
word.
Yeah.
And it's so true that I think the more you get to know yourself, the more you are aware of you as a person and the little quirks that you have and how in your behaviors, you're better off when you deal with other people, because you recognize that, you know, it's not just them, it's you too.
Yeah.
You know, like you're reacting this way because of your own feelings and thoughts, not necessarily because they're doing anything.
Exactly.
But I just wanted to thank you ladies for
Yeah.
taking time and helping me with my assignment. And Professor, that will be it. I will be submitting this to you later on today. Thanks.